All right, folks, it is officially day 4 of 31 days of horror, 31 days of Halloween, 31 days of Horrorween. You know what? The name doesn't matter. All right, so for day 4, we're finally getting into the movies which, pretty much everyone's heard of. And this is a film which is pretty much about as iconic as early horror gets. But the thing I've noticed about this movie is, despite the fact that it's an absolute, just like, cultural tentpole, everyone knows who Frankenstein is. Everybody knows about the movie. Everybody knows about Boris Karloff's performance. Everybody knows about the It's Alive sequence. Despite the fact that that's such a huge, social rallying point, just for, collective 20th century society, not a lot of people have actually seen the movie. And that's kind of the thing I've noticed about a lot of these, early horror films. Despite their popularity and despite, the impact they've made on popular culture, not a lot of modern filmgoers have actually, watched them. And I think with Frankenstein, this movie that especially, I think, kind of has a muddied overall reputation. Because, you ask people about Frankenstein, they usually say, "Oh, it's a movie about the mad scientist, and he has lightning come down from the sky, and it reanimates Boris Karloff, and he's green, and he's all lumbering, he's got screws in his neck, and he runs around causing chaos." But that's not really sort of an accurate depiction of what the film is about. Granted, there are some granules of truth to that synopsis, but really, you look at Frankenstein, and if you haven't seen it, you really should because it's not what you think it is. It's really a lot more interesting movie. It's kind of about a group of people who are trying to maintain a secret. That's kind of the secret point of Frankenstein. That's really the anchor of a lot of the suspense and drama. Is that it's not so much about Frankenstein running around doing stuff as it is we got this group of 4 people who have knowledge of something very, very, very unusual and potentially dangerous that they're trying to keep under wraps for as long as possible, but eventually, it ends up blowing back in their face and they have to do something about it. And that's really sort of been something that's been utilized by a lot of horror films moving forward. The deep, dark secret. And Frankenstein is the embodiment of that deep, dark secret. And of course, the film itself, it's allegory rich. I mean, basically, whatever meaning you want Frankenstein to have, you can have it. Now, some people say it's about 20th century industrialization. Okay. Some say it's about, rapid advancements in medicinal technology. I'll take that too. And really, but deep down, I think what Frankenstein embodies for me philosophically is that it embodies the fact that, nature was here before humanity. And, despite the fact that we go out and we do a lot of cool stuff, I mean, we got a lot of inventions, we've increased the lifespan. At the end of the day, nature still wins. And no matter how smart we are, no matter how advanced our technology gets, no matter how much we increase the lifespan, every time we think we're better than nature, every time we play God, eventually there are repercussions. Things happen. The quo gets status somehow, some way, and ultimately that's kind of the great morality of Frankenstein. That every time man goes out there and tries to improve upon what was here before us, eventually we're shown the folly of our ways, and that's pretty much a linchpin of the horror genre, which runs through everything from Frankenstein to Godzilla to Nightmare on Elm Street to whatever we have going on today. That's just a part of the genre canon. So anyway, the movie itself, and I'll give it a very, very, very quick synopsis. Obviously, even if you haven't seen it, you already know what it's about. So we got this guy. He's a mad scientist, but he's not like a complete recluse. I mean, he's got a woman he wants to marry, but he's kind of been neglecting her because he's been just so hell-bent about getting this Frankenstein project off the ground. So he goes out, he steals a corpse, stitches them together. They put an abnormal brain in it by accident. Lightning comes in. Now, the thing about this movie is it's not just the guy in the castle, playing with lightning. He actually has his fiance come in, and he has his mentor come in, and he finds out. So it's Frankenstein, the doctor, his girl, his mentor, and Igor, the assistant. They all know about Frankenstein. So it's about these 4 divergent people who know this really deep, dark secret that will come back to haunt all of them. So of course, Frankenstein's alive, and the doctor is really awesome. He's like, "Yeah, this is great. I'm a genius." But then slowly but surely he realizes, okay, well, I've invented something that's maybe not as great as I thought it was. It's this big lumbering, mongoloid who's afraid of fire, who wants to choke everybody, who, oh, by the way, is like 7 foot tall and green. Maybe what I've been investing all this time in hasn't been worth it. Maybe instead of creating something worthwhile, I've actually made something completely hideous and horrendous and abomination of science. So that kind of dawns upon him very quickly. And then, of course, Frankenstein escapes, and everybody tries to keep it under wraps. It's like, yeah, just don't talk about it. We'll just go on, Carol lives. Hey, we're getting married. We'll go out and have a party. It'll be great. But of course, when you have a 7 foot tall green dude running around, basically a zombie, in Bavaria or wherever this movie takes place, bad things happen. And of course, you don't really need me to run down all the scenes. We got the scene with the girl being thrown in the lake, which is really effective. And you talk about scenes from movies that really jar you. If you've never seen the movie before, the part where the dude, the dad, is dragging his daughter's like waterlogged corpse through Main Street, and everybody's like partying, but then they realize what's happening, and it slowly becomes just deathly silent. That's like one of the greatest scenes, not just in horror film history, but in the history of movies. I mean, that's absolutely just a blood chilling, just completely, oh, just it hits you right in the feels, and that's something that's hard for modern movies to do, let alone films from 1931. I think it's 1933. I'll get back to you on that, or 1931, whatever. We'll look it up on Wikipedia. And of course, townsfolk find out that Frankenstein's behind it, and they go to the castle, and then torches come out, and well, you know what happens from there. But yeah, overall, when you look at this movie, and it's really, really short, it's only like 70 minutes long, it just codifies so many things about the horror film genre. I mean, so many moments are completely and totally iconic, and it's a great film. The acting is terrific. The special effects look great. I mean, Frankenstein, Boris Karloff's performance is still like one of the best in the history of horror, though it doesn't have any lines in English. Just lumbering around, just the way his body language, tells a story is just remarkable. So yeah, if you haven't seen it, you need to see it because it's a great, great movie. And I think you put in the pantheon of other Universal horror films, it's way better than The Wolfman. It's way better than Dracula. So it's about half and half with Phantom of the Opera. I like both of those. The silent film from 1925. But yeah, if you haven't seen it, you need to see this one. One of the absolute greatest horror films ever made. You need to see it. It's Frankenstein. Without question, this one is getting 4 Reese's Ghost Cups out of 4. Great, great movie. And they made a whole bunch of sequels, which were nowhere near as good as Don't Anybody Tell You Bride of Frankenstein's better, because it's not. And speaking of sequels, hang in there, because in a few days we'll be revisiting the Frankenstein series to see just how far from grace one franchise can fall. And if you thought sucky cash-in horror sequels are a relatively new phenomenon, we're about to prove you wrong. But anyway, Frankenstein, James Whale, Boris Karloff, go see it. It's great. You need to watch this, even if you're not a horror fan. Just to understand, the history of cinema. It's great. You will not be disappointed.